Hey there, friend. Welcome to Mindful Chatting on our Thoughtful Thursday series. If you're new here, my name is Kristen. I've been a therapist for 15 years, and I want to share with you some of the things that have popped up in my sessions. And that's where this Thoughtful Thursday space comes in. I want you to think about a time where something just didn't feel right for you, but maybe you stayed anyway. Maybe in a relationship, maybe in a job, or maybe in a dynamic that just kept repeating itself. And you knew that something was off. But then there was also this other voice that maybe have said to you, but it's not always like this, or I didn't mean it like that, or it's not that bad. That tension, that back and forth that you have, that's called cognitive dissonance. And today we're going to talk about it, what it actually is, why your brain creates it, why it keeps you stuck, and how to recognize when it's protecting you versus what it's costing you. But don't worry, we're going to do this together.
Welcome to Mindful Chatting, a podcast where therapy meets real life. I'm Kristen, a therapist, business owner, and a lifelong student of what it means to fully show up in our relationships, in our work, and in our healing. Here, we unpack mental health concepts, explore mindfulness tools, and talk through the messy, beautiful, in-between moments that shape us. Whether you're a fellow clinician, a curious listener, or someone navigating your own growth, this space is for you. Let's chat.
All right. Cognitive dissonance is when two things feel true at the same time, but they don't always align. So let me give you an example. I care about myself a lot, but then I'm staying somewhere that really hurts me. Your brain doesn't like that tension. Your brain doesn't like how those two things don't fit together. So it'll try to resolve it by not changing the behavior, but by changing the narrative, changing the story. And that's where we come in and go, well, it's not that bad. So this is really how your brain reduces discomfort for itself. Your brain is designed to protect you, and it protects you from discomfort. So instead of saying this isn't working, your brain might say it's not that bad, or they're just stressed out, or it'll eventually get better. But because leaving and changing and confronting, well, that's all really uncomfortable. And your brain wants to soften that reality to reduce that discomfort for yourself.
If you're listening to this and thinking, this is exactly what I struggle with, I want you to know that I built something specifically for you. The EF, or Executive Functioning Activation course, walks you through why task initiation feels so hard with your ADHD and how to actually get yourself moving without shame, pressure, or burnout. It's short, practical, and designed for ADHD brains, not productivity culture. If starting is your biggest barrier, this course gives you structure, language, and tools that actually work for you. You'll find the link in the show notes.
I think one of the most common forms of dissonance that I hear in sessions is you hold on to the moments that feel really good for you to justify staying in something that doesn't feel good overall. So your brain says something like, see, that's who they really are, while ignoring really the pattern that's actually showing up for you. Because if you fully acknowledge that pattern for yourself, well, then something would have to change. And that creates a lot of discomfort. And that's a hard thing to really sit with. So, but let's also talk about that not all dissonance is bad. There is a big difference between good and bad dissonance. Good dissonance is actually growth. I want to grow, but this feels really uncomfortable. That actually pushes you forward. It stretches you outside of your comfort zone, and then you actually become better by growing. The harmful dissonance is that kind of self betrayal. I know this isn't right, but I'm staying here anyway. This creates a lot of confusion for you, emotional exhaustion, and really a loss of self trust. And this is where people start disconnecting from themselves for the sake of the other person or the sake of the relationship. If you want to understand your ADHD in a deeper way, I've created the ADHD Crash Course, and it walks you through ADHD step by step so that you can actually start understanding your brain and not shaming it. Everything's in small, doable lessons designed for your ADHD in mind. The link is in the show notes. Well, this is the part where I'm going to say the things that people don't like to admit. We don't just stay because of the other person in that relationship. We stay because it's familiar, it's predictable, and it avoids bigger disruption, and it delays those hard decisions that we probably know we need to make. And sometimes because we don't trust ourselves to choose differently. And I think that's a big one. I don't know that this is exactly what I want. So I betray myself and I don't trust myself for making the right decisions for me. So now I want to start by changing and shifting. Alignment is not always comfortable. Sometimes alignment can look like setting a boundary, saying something out loud that needs to be said, maybe leaving, changing a direction in your life, or maybe disappointing someone. And your brain will resist that. Trust me, it will, because it prefers familiar over the discomfort. It prefers this over this unfamiliar change that you're trying to create. So, this is how we recognize this in real time. I want you to notice the justifying language that you use. If I'm explaining this too much, then something might be off. And when we're feeling off, we will look for things to justify how we feel. And this can be good and bad. Like I said, not all dissonance is bad. But if I'm having to explain or justify or excuse someone else's behavior, then maybe this is something that might be off for me. I want you to check for patterns, not for moments. Ask yourself, is this consistent, or am I focusing on exceptions that might be exceptions to the pattern of the rule? I want you to pay attention to your body. Dissonance doesn't just live in your thoughts. It shows up in tension, anxiety, and heaviness within your body. And if you start to notice that and start shifting questions into curiosity and go, is this tension because maybe I'm in dissonance? Maybe because I should do something, but I'm not doing it? And then I want you to ask yourself the really hard question. What would I do if I fully trusted myself? Would I make a different decision? Would I leave? Would I do something different? If you start asking yourself these questions, then maybe you'll start working through that dissonance with yourself.
Okay, quick pause. Because you've ever found yourself rewinding this episode like 3 times because your brain just drifted, this is for you. I hear this all the time. I can focus, just not when I actually need to. And that's exactly what the focus course is about. Because here's the truth. ADHD isn't a lack of attention, it's a regulation issue, which is why some days you're locked in for hours and other days you're rereading the same sentence, wondering what just happened. So, inside my executive functioning focus course, I break this down in a way that actually makes sense for you. We go through how your attention works in your brain, your specific focus patterns, why you get distracted externally and internally, and how to actually build a system that helps you stay on track and come back when you drift. Because the goal isn't perfect focus, it's knowing how to return without spiraling. So if you're tired of blaming yourself and you just want something that actually works with your brain, I'll link the focus course in the show notes. All right, let's get back to this episode.
I think one of the hardest things to admit is when we've been convincing ourselves that something is okay when it's actually not okay. And that doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. And that's where this dissonance can actually change for yourself. So, cognitive dissonance isn't the problem, it's a signal, and we need to listen to it. And it's a signal that isn't aligning with something. And that's something that isn't aligning, and you got to figure out what is it that's not aligning. And the longer that you ignore your cognitive dissonance, the more disconnected you become with yourself. But the moment that you start actually listening to it like data, like a signal, even if it's really uncomfortable, that's where things can actually begin to change. That's when you can actually start trusting yourself and moving into a different direction, even if it's uncomfortable. I want to thank you for joining me. This might have been a really hard topic to sit with, but maybe you needed to hear it. And maybe someone else in your life needs to hear it too. So don't be afraid to share it. If you have a particular topic that maybe you'd like to learn more about or would like to dive deeper in, don't be afraid to drop it in the comments. And as always, be gentle with your mind.
One more thing before you go, and this helps me personally, staying present and grounded, which we all need, especially when your brain wants to spiral into disconnection. Me too. It's Brain FM. It's musically designed to help ADHD brains, well, really anyone's brain, focus, relax, or sleep, and I use it almost daily. If you want to try it, I've dropped my link in the show notes. And if you're looking for planning tools or ADHD-friendly resources, I'll keep a list of my favorite links in every episode.